Long time ago, before the humans learned how to walk, before the dinosaurs even existed, you wouldn't believe just how many views your mediocre at best videos would get if you had Genshin Impact in your title. Because to say Genshin Impact was popular, it would be an understatement. It was one of the most popular, if not the most popular free game back in its peak. It managed to give rise to so many different content creators and popularized the term gacha games and gacha content creators. Of course, there is always a but. After Genshin began to lose its popularity, many of them fell, and they fell hard. Some of them lost from 50% to 80% of their audience and quit content creation altogether. Both views on YouTube and Twitch fell hard, and every single content creator felt this, all except one, the one who managed not just to rise in the Genshin community, but also the one who used his newfound stardom to branch into other forms of content, get huge, and cement himself as something much more than a gacha content creator. And that man is Mujin. So how did he do it? Well, in this video I'm going to try to explain this phenomenon, because Mujin is not the only person who rode this Genshin Impact train. There was one more person who was just as popular as Mujin, maybe even more, born from the same circumstances. But unlike him, that person fell into irrelevancy, and the title already spoils who that is. But before we can explain the story of Mujin, I have to give you a little history lesson of how Genshin Impact content sphere used to look like before Mujin penetrated that bubble. So listen up. Genshin Impact had many content creators who covered different aspects of the game, and with every major update, like Inazuma, Sumeru, Dragonspine, Chasm, views skyrocketed for everyone. For the next 2 or 3 weeks, as a content creator, you had enough material to entertain your audience. But there is one problem that Genshin Impact had and still has to this very day: no long-term repeatable content. After you were done with the exploration of the new areas and the story, you essentially had nothing to do. And the worst is that after one major update, there is always a dry patch, or a 2 or 3 where basically nothing happens. And as a Genshin CC, you have nothing to provide for your audience to watch, so you have to get creative. Many CCs created custom challenges, some went free to play, some tried to beat the game without ever pulling, some wailed, but it didn't really do much. And then you have somebody like Enviosity who would go around and pick mint for the entire streams, and that's how he would entertain his viewers. The worst part, people watched it because they were so starved for content. And this is also where the term mint picker comes from. Unfortunately, the core of the problem is that you can do all of this for a month or 2. Then you have to remember that as a Genshin Impact CC, you share the audience with the others, so if you're not interesting, they will just go and watch somebody else. And even worse, if you go and try to play a different game, your views would hit rock bottom, cause you are Genshin Impact content creator, and Genshin Impact is all that you will ever do, and this is all that is expected of you. So when the content drought hit, many Genshin CCs would intentionally bait each other into creating dramas, or take something that other CCs said and spin it as an insult to them, causing many pointless but at the time entertaining dramas. And to be honest, there was nothing else to watch, so it's understandable, it's content, it worked and it brought views. And then, in the one of the worst content droughts, Mujin came, and he came strong. That first video that made him go viral in the Genshin community is this one. It was a video of Mujin exploring a community-made map filled with cursed creations, memes and frustrated players, and it was very funny and entertaining. But why exactly was this video a fuse that blew up Mujin's channel? Well, it was something new, it was more light-hearted, it was type of content that was not seen before, different from your typical drama, guide or a live stream. It was something that even if you are not a part of a Genshin community, you can still enjoy on its own. Paired with Mujin's great personality, humor and storytelling, those interactive map videos became absolutely huge. Then he started doing something that I was also doing back in the day. Find a strange, funny and interesting story from the Genshin community and shine the light on it. This is also where I tell you that people used to call me a Mujin copy, but I have a contra-argument. You see, I started making Vtuber content and then I switched to Genshin Impact. And Mujin started with Genshin Impact and then switched to Vtuber content. Thank you, Your Honor. Anyway, one thing that I believe that helped Mujin immensely in his career is his relatability. Mujin managed to capture a casual Genshin fan as well as non-Genshin fans who don't care about any content creators in general but can relate to the topic instead. Because we all remember just how bullshit food delivery event was, or god damn it, does anybody remember fucking Elemental Crucible where we had to use resin to even progress to that event. And the worst part, it was co-op. If you managed to come this far, you're probably confused with what does this have to do with anything. Well, allow me to explain. Majority of Mujin's audience consisted of casual Genshin as well as non-Genshin viewers, so he was able to separate himself from Genshin much more easily. And the thing that helped him is all the dramas and controversies that happened in the VTuber community. So in just couple of videos, Mujin managed to jump ship from Genshin to VTubers and he tripled his views, especially cause one of the major dramas at the time involved Selen Tatsuki, now known as Doki Bird, who was bullied in her company Niji Sanji and almost driven to taking her own life 2 times. Thankfully she didn't succeed. Then others followed, downfall of Rushia, Luka Kanashiro drama, and many other more controversies that skyrocketed Mujin's career to stardom. Then he made another genius move and made his own VTuber. Fucking brilliant! Not only did he give his audience a persona to remember him by, but he also didn't show his face, which just boosted his relatability even more. If you do not believe me, just look at somebody like Dream, who after showing his face killed his career instantly. Cause by not showing your face, you play into a fantasy people have of you. They can imagine you as whatever they want, and by relieving your face, you are essentially killing that fantasy. Then later, he diversified his content even more and basically became some sort of VTuber historian. Now when people say Mujin, my first thought is not, oh yeah, that's a Genshin Impact streamer or content creator. Instead, my first association is somebody like Hirohei or Rev Says Desu. And this is basically how he did it, by being very smart and using the opportunities given to him to the fullest. Now let's talk about somebody who had similar circumstances for stardom, but instead fell into irrelevancy and lost his stardom. That person is Bwaap or Bwaap. Just like Mujin, Bwaap was another Genshin overnight sensation, having 5.2 million views on his first Genshin Impact video at the time of the recording, and getting millions and millions more after. He was dubbed as the unofficial voice of Ether, and his videos were very easy to understand and digest. Followed by his personality, he became one of the pillars of Genshin Impact community. And unfortunately, there is where the problem comes from. Unlike Mujin, Bwaap was followed by the majority of the core Genshin audience, the one who is basically responsible for the current state of the game. Those people wanted Genshin and only Genshin, and Bwaap provided, and as a reward, his views skyrocketed on every Genshin video he ever made during its honeymoon phase. Unfortunately for him, as Genshin slowed down, his career stagnated. He was briefly able to switch to HSR, but it didn't do much. Later, however, he would also do a face reveal, which I believe was a huge mistake because he essentially killed all of the mystery surrounding his character. He also tried doing Twitch for the time, but it bared fruit temporarily. Bwaap's career was going down in stark contrast of Mujin. Bound by the chains from the game that was popular at the time, he wasn't able to diversify his content in the time, which led to his stagnation and eventual downfall. You can say that Bwaap was a candle that burned too bright and went out just as fast, but he is not the only one. Genshin in its peak gave content creators an insane amount of unreal views, and so many of them did not take the advantage of their newfound audience to make themselves as something much more than just another Hoyoverse creator. Because you have to remember, Genshin peak was 2020 to 2022, aka peak lockdown, when majority of the world was stuck inside with nothing to do except be online. And this huge audience was desperate for something to do, and they clinged to the games such as Genshin, for example, and its creators. Some of them could not even handle those massive audiences that appeared overnight, like Mtesht, for example, who was mind-broken by Genshin community and resented the game and the people who play it. Fortunately for him, he managed to remain relevant, covering other games. For him, Genshin was getaway to gacha and gacha games, and he felt like a fish out of the water. In his career as a gacha streamer, he was losing his mind every single time. And if you want to hear the story of how Genshin Impact mind-fucked Mtesht, please tell me in the comments. Of course, all of this was just my theory that I made from the observations and clues I found. So you are free to disagree, but at least I hope you found my yapping interesting, and I hope you will stay for more. Until next time, I will see you around.